All right. So on Thursday, Gorilla Technology announced a couple major things, and I'll kind of this video. I'm just going to kind of go in depth about what those things are, and how they can prove to be really, really important and beneficial if you're a shareholder of Gorilla Technology. Because last week I made a video about how you should be patient about Gorilla Technology. And if I'm being honest, obviously that still stands. And even if there was no news announced on Thursday, you still should have been patient and stuff would come. But for it to come at this time is, just great if you're a shareholder, because, you look at the chart, we started around $17 on Monday morning, and then we were down to around 15.30 before the news was announced, which is a scary level because, if you look at the chart, the lowest we've gone before is 1485. So another day we could have definitely broken that, and that would have been a scary. Then we could have been down all the way down to the correction level that we set before, which was around 12 to 15, which is not where you want to be. It's obviously we would have definitely rebounded. I'm confident in that, but it's a scary level to be. So to be here now with them announcing this news on Thursday is great, and I'll kind of explain what this news means and why it's really something to look forward to if you're a shareholder of Gorilla, and something why you should kind of be confident in this company. They announced it on Thursday, and they announced three major points. So the first major point was on the buyback program, which is basically when the company is buying back some of its shares to lower the amount of shares available to the public, which makes it harder to short, harder to manipulate, which is obviously great news. And the only problem with that was that they originally announced it, I think, in September of 2024, that they were going to do this program, which would have utilized $10 million of the company's funds over a certain amount of months. But they never really updated the shareholders on what the program was looking like, how well the progress was, because they weren't just going to put 10 million in from day one. They were going to do it over time. So this was a huge update on that program. So far they announced they have used 5.4 million of the $10 million for the buyback program, leaving 4.6, which is going to continue to be used. And they'll use that at a share price that they think is cheap, like now, which is probably why they announced it now, because the share price is very cheap. That showcases that the company thinks that the value is much, much higher. So that's great news. Just a little bit of, if anybody was still throwing around the word fraud for Gorilla, they do follow up. It just follow up on, their promises. It just sometimes it's a little frustrating because they're patient with it, but that's better than, updates every single day that might not be that true. Second is insider ownership, which is also a great, it's not really something new. It's kind of just something to boost investor confidence, because they updated around 20% of the shares available, or the shares out there, are owned by insiders. So that's people who work for the company, and that's amazing news. Again, you don't see 20% insider ownership in stocks that the insiders aren't confident are going to go up, because why would they invest in their own company if they don't think it's going to go up? So clearly they think that it's going to go up, and that's kind of the most important thing, because they are the ones who are doing, executing, and that's really important. Again, that's a little something just for investor confidence, but I think the biggest thing that we saw in this announcement was the next point, and that's the announcement of earnings release. And this earnings isn't something that Gorilla ever schedules. Last year I remember they announced their earnings for the first half in September, October. So again, they don't do quarterly earnings. They don't announce their quarterly earnings really regularly. This is the first time they've ever announced their quarterly earnings, and that's a great sign for this company, because they announced that they're gonna be releasing their first quarter earnings for 2025 sometime in the first half of June. So we still don't know the date for that, but there's a couple reasons why this is great news. Obviously, you get to showcase, Gorilla gets to showcase their financials so far, which is really better than any sort of announcement or projects, at least realistically, because this is direct numbers. This isn't just projects that people could think are fake. These are real numbers. So another reason why these are so important is because just the fact that Gorilla never announces their quarterly earnings, there has to be a reason they're announcing it now. They never, last year they didn't just randomly announce their quarterly earnings. they do this most likely because they see the share price, they see that we're kind of hovering around the 15 to 20 level, and we need something to break us out. And they most likely look at their earnings and say, well, these are really good earnings. Might as well just release them to the public. That probably wasn't true last year at this time, but now hopefully, I don't think they would release an earnings or choose to release those quarterly earnings if they were really bad, or they wouldn't, help investor confidence and boost the share price. So again, most likely those are good earnings, which is something to look forward to if you're a shareholder, hopefully. And then, another piece that's I think is really important is this piece. They say they're poised to report continued progress across key markets, including Southeast Asia, USA, Latin America, and the UK. Driven by its AI-powered smart infrastructure solutions. So again, that part lets me know that, again, they're not only going to be releasing their numbers, they also are going to provide either updates or, a follow-up on any sort of project, a partnership they have across the world. So this could be, updating us on any sort of partnership they made earlier, or possibly until their earnings release, maybe announcing a new partnership and then following up on it then. So again, some really, really good things to look forward to, that especially that earnings release, hopefully great numbers, and then also maybe some sort of an update on their partnerships or projects. That would be really great. And then we can maybe see these levels again, where we break that 20 level and we're back up to the 25, 30 level. And then from there, I am very, very high in this company. I think we belong above 40. So, if you're a shareholder, again, if you watched my video last week, obviously it's scary these times, but these are the times where really the fake investors are kind of ratted out. If you weren't confident in the company, if you were getting greedy, if you, maybe saw these gains and they were making insane gains over the period of, a month, and then now you're seeing this kind of 2-month period of just kind of a lull, maybe you get bored out, but the real investors, we're staying put. And we realize that this is just, it's obviously a little frustrating, but I don't think it's really scary. We're kind of just staying where we are. And then good things are to come. Because, if you wait, good things are going to come. Gorilla wasn't going to go to 60 in 2 months. It needed a little bit of a period to relax. But now it seems like ownership, it's really, really nice that ownership is finally putting out PR again. We hadn't had a PR in a little while. And this is a very beneficial one. I think, we're going to, until then, just got to be patient. The price most likely it was having some trouble breaking the $18 level. As you can see, it hit 18, but never went above it. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen to the price until earnings release, or until the next PR. It most likely will just continue to fluctuate between maybe 18 and 20, maybe a little higher than that, just because of the earnings announcement. But the big thing to be looking forward to is the earnings announcement. So again, great news if you're a Gorilla shareholder. Got to just be patient once again and wait for that earnings announcement. And again, good things will come. Just has to be patient and don't panic sell. So yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.